All right, folks, welcome back. Again today, I am sitting down across the country with Mr. Daniel John, Master SFG instructor and author of the new book, Intervention. Dan John, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. For anybody who is unfamiliar with you and what you do, could you just take a few minutes to sort of introduce yourself and, give a brief history of Dan John and what he does and, what's coming up, what's new, what's exciting?
Well, I think we're here because I'm a strength coach, but my degrees, I've been teaching the classroom since 1979, history, economics, all kinds of theology. My strength is sacred scripture. Coach football, wrestling, track, played every sport you can imagine. I've won masters, national championships in Olympic lifting, the weight pentathlon, discus. I was very, very good Highland game athlete for a long time. I think my strength is the discus still. I'm a volunteer coach up at a Division III college called Westminster, and I'm really proud of that, which is fun because I was a Division I MVP in track, and it's kind of fun to deal with, this is going to sound awful, and I don't mean it, but a more typical athlete,
Yep.
At Division I level, every single guy I worked with was not only a tremendous track athlete, but was like, yeah, I was the starting, forward on the high school basketball team. He was also all-state as a tight end. And, they're just so overwhelmingly good.
Mhm.
It's kind of nice to work with an athlete that, kind of, was more normal.
That you
More
can
normal.
actually improve, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, and it's actually fun. I spend a lot of time. I mean, I spend the bulk of my time traveling, giving workshops. I just came out with another book, but really, it's weird. It's funny. You said that I was a master kettlebell guy. On the list of things I'm proud of, certainly I think that's great. But it's interesting because I'm so much more proud of my work with say like the military or my work with the high school kids because I feel like those are the life-changing things I've done. I always tell people, and it's true, my lawyer, my doctor, my mortician, most of the kids, I mean, so many people I know are former athletes of mine. And that's what I'm kind of looking, that's what makes me most proud is, I have a professor at Columbia College in New York. He's in their law school. He's one of my former throwers. As a professor
Hmm.
in Texas who's a ceramics professor. He's one of my former throwers. So I guess that's what if you can hear anything I'm going to say today, it's great that you want to be an athlete. It's great you want to look good naked, but it's also really important. 20 years from now, I'd like you to be a doctor, a lawyer, a outstanding member of society. And I know that sounds weird, but I really believe that.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, and you mentioned your new book, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about today. It's called Intervention. I have read it. It is a wonderful, fantastic piece of literature. Now, before I start to give my thoughts and reasons as to why everybody should own a copy of this book, can you just sort of give us your little brief elevator pitch, if you will, your sort of 30-second wrap up of what is intervention?
I don't know how well I clear it up in the book. I think I do, but you might miss it. Here's the fitness industry. The fitness industry, God bless the fitness industry, all love the fitness industry,
God bless it.
uh, is uh, is insane. No matter what you read every single day, you will come away with this idea that I should be training like a Navy SEAL. You should be training like you're getting ready for the Super Bowl. Edna over there should be getting training for the Miss Olympia contest. Uh, and that's just insane.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed over the years, I was working with these NFL guys, 29-year-old NFL guy, big as a house, been in the league 8 years, and wanted to train like he trained when he was 16. And it's like, how many surgeries you've had? 17. Well, you can't train like you did when you were 16 and, when you weighed 170 and now you're 370. You can't train the same way.
Mhm.
Really, why? I want to. God bless you, you want to. 54-year-old man, I read this thing that Navy SEALs do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, dude, you can't even join the Navy because you're too freaking old. So, so you can't train like them because you're not in the Navy. Okay? So that's not to be rude, But this is where intervention came up. It was these constant phone calls. 34-year-old elite discus thrower wanted to train like she's going to get ready for the Olympic Games as an Olympic lifter, a bodybuilder, and a discus thrower. It's like, what? Major League Baseball player who one of the teams asked me to sit down and talk with him because he gets all of his information out of bodybuilding magazines, and he wants to train with that Frankenstein style of arm. Well, he was to the point that he had biceps in the morning, triceps in the afternoon. It wasn't just arm day; it was arm splits. And he was and the funny thing is, he looked like Tarzan, played like Jane.
Sure.
He went from one of the best hitters in the system that they had. They dropped his butt down to AAA, and they were going to drop his butt down to AA. Now you're looking at a guy they've already lost millions on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Millions. He's not. His bonus was gone. I mean, he had his bonus.
Yeah.
He had that freaking huge truck with all the, if you read your Freud, you'll understand why a lot of these guys buy big trucks.
Sure. Compensating, right?
Yeah. And he had this big truck. He wanted the big engine, and it was killing his skills as a baseball player. So literally, I was asked by a Major League Baseball team to intervene. And that's where that's what the book means. Mm-hmm. Intervention is my job of sitting down, looking you across the eye, saying you're not 15 years old anymore. You're not 19 years old anymore. You have horrendous symmetry issues, and we've got to fix those. We've got to fix those first. You want to be an Olympic lifter, but you don't know how to snatch and clean and jerk. Yeah. Literally, I look people across and go, wait. And it's been very good for me, but I go online all the time. All these, no offense, the best word I can think of is dweebs. They keep trying to find the perfect program before they ever go into the weight room. Mm-hmm. They want, wait, someone said that broccoli was bad for you. So should I not eat broccoli? Mm-hmm. Well, what kind of diet are you on right now? Well, I'm not on a diet, but I want to go on a perfect diet. Well, dude, why don't you, I don't know, why don't you eat breakfast or, lean protein, eat some vegetables. It's fine. You're not going to die. So intervention is all about, let's just get to the first step. Once I get you there, then we can move to the second. Okay?
Now that's great, and I love the theme that you had throughout this book of reasonable, and that resonates with me because as we were talking about at the last event where I came to watch you speak, you've been coaching for more years than I've been alive.
Yeah. And
so I've done the best that I can do to try and learn from other people's experience to sort of compensate for the lack of my own, and that seems to be a problem in the industry today. Is it seems that people, they do these unreasonable programs.
Right.
They do these, right. and then they have to wait until they experience the trauma until they learn. And I think Intervention is a great book for other people to learn from other people's experiences, if you will.
Well, thank you. Two quick points, though, Pat, and this is important. I support all that stuff. I mean, if you tell me to do a 3-day liver cleanse, I support you. But I want my job then is to talk about the other 362 days of this year. Well, 364, I guess, whatever it is, because it's a leap year. But so I support idiocy in its entirety. I mean, I absolutely do. So that's point number one. And I talk about it in the book. I just don't think, and I can guarantee people listening to this, person listening, you are the exception. You are the person that can do the liver cleanse and the 10,000 swings a day challenge.
And so the squat program year round, right?
But I'm talking to the other 7 billion people on the planet, okay? Not you. And the other thing, point number 2, Pat, is it true I'm better looking in person?
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Thank you. I'm joking. I'm kind of a trollish looking dude. I'm kind of scary, huh?
Well, we both share similar Irish features. Let's just say that.
Oh, beat up people. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay, so just for clarity, the point of the book is that let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable in workouts. Let's be reasonable in diets. If a great shiny new thing shows up, I support it. But then let's just work on the basics for 2 months. Let's get back to a diet that's livable for a few months, and then let's tweak this and tweak that. But this idea that there's a perfect diet or a perfect training program isn't, by the way, and it's not supported by the research. Every diet works. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Compliance is the key to dieting. Adherence is the key to dieting. So okay, I'm rambling, but so let's move on. I apologize.
No, I mean those are excellent points, and very poignant to the discussion. So I'm glad that you took the time to address those. So I guess the first thing I'd want to talk about, and we'll start right with your first chapter in the book, part 1, is when you start. What is the first starting point? And I'll just sort of cheat and reference the book here. Is you say starting point is you have to know point A and point B. We're defining
Right.
point B. So can you just talk on that a little bit of where people should start and how to go about that?
Well, here's the thing, and it's my fault, and I say it candidly in the book. When you have someone like myself, even when I worked with high school kids, I work with kids who want to be state champion in football or in track. So the point B was clear. So it was always easy for me because Paul Northway said, he wanted to throw over 200 feet. We got him to 214, 9.5. So we nailed it, okay? We were successful. So what we had to do with Paul is figure out where point A was. And with point A, we had assessment tools. How strong do you need to be? And by the way, this is something people will miss. Paul in his senior year was strong enough that we didn't even worry about weight training the bulk of his senior year. In fact, we allowed him to get weaker. Now every other guy he's going against is trying to get their bench press to the ceiling, and we're letting Paul, don't even worry about it. Don't worry. Well, let's start thinking about your college career strength-wise. So so we let Paul get weaker and weaker and weaker. What? Why? Because we knew Paul's B so well. When we assessed A, we figured his senior year, he was pretty close. His A to B was pretty close. If I'm working with somebody who wants to be in the National Football League and they're a 9th grader, well, and I use the example myself. When I was in the 9th grade, and this is a true story, drug-free, by the way, drug-free, I incline bench pressed 85 pounds. I'm just saying. Drug-free. Make sure that's in there.
Yeah.
I read about a thrower who was incline benching 385 pounds. This is when I was in the 9th grade. So I knew the route from A, 85-pound incline, to B, 385-pound incline. So it was funny because it was crystal clear to me. I'm telling you, I remember reading it going, all right, nope, not a problem. I need to get to 100 pounds. Then somehow I'm going to get to 200 pounds. And it's funny because I realized it would take me about 8 years or so. And I was right. It's amazing. The problem, though, now, asterisk, now we need to move on. Most people, in fact, most people probably listening, know they're A. They know they're fat. They know they're out of shape. They know that they've been sitting around for 12 years and need to undo that. Pat, for me, what I need to do is talk to them about their Bs, okay? And their B is their goal. And the sad thing is most people don't have a B. They have this totally unrealistic thing that I call the Z, okay? You want to look like a woman who has a full-time Photoshopper, a full-time fluffer. That's the person that does your hair and makeup every 15 minutes.
Yep.
A full-time, you probably have a cook, a dietitian, a cook, a personal trainer who shows up at your house, say at 9 o'clock every day and puts you through a 2-hour workout. If I tell you this, and I know this to be true, if someone showed up at my house every day and put me through a 2-hour workout, I'm not wasting 1 ounce of my personal free will to do that workout. I'm just doing what Coach said to do. I'm going to look so much better if I'm photoshopped, got a fluffer doing my makeup, have a personal trainer, and a cook cooking for me.
Sure, it's an incredible support system.
Right. So most people, they say, I want to look like, this. And I say, well, do you have a cook? Do you have a personal trainer? Who takes care of your kids? Well, I do. So you don't have the support system. So we need them to get to B. Now, one of the funny things, I think Josh Hillis does a great job with this, but one of the things I say, I would rather you have, say, what's 50 times 3? 150. 150 easy workouts a year. Go for a walk, do some goblet squats with the Bible, because it's one of the bigger books in most people's homes.
Sure. Yeah.
Do a plank for 30 seconds and then play Frisbee for as long as you like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's an easy workout, right?
Yep.
Well, doing that 150 years, that would be nice.
That would be
100
nice. Yeah.
days a year will trump those 3 extremely hard workouts you do the first week of January most years. And all I'm trying to do is if I can get you to have some clarity on your point B and give yourself a break to go from, okay, here I am today, not training, to here I am 6 weeks from now, I've got 18 workouts under my belt. You are better. Now we can talk about maybe a C goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what would be a C goal? And the funny thing is, if you work out 3 times a week for 6 weeks, most people, all your dreams will come true. Most people don't even recognize themselves because of that early momentum. Oh, boy, it's like that linear progression. When I lead linear programs in weightlifting, it's always like, oh, I so miss being in the 9th grade when that used to work.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Don't we all?
Yeah. Oh, boy, I wish I could. These programs I see where, the guy starts off with a 200-pound deadlift and built himself up to 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, why don't it ain't going to last long, dude.
No, I think I think it's such a great point that you make about people go in without knowing where they're going, and I forget where I heard the quote, but it was such a great quote that a lot of times it's like driving on the freeway midnight, with your headlights on. You can't really see the whole path, but if you know where you're going, you're gonna figure it out as you go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a great way to think of this. You got to like trust the freeway, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have a white line on the left side of your car,
Yep.
And double yellows on the left side of your car, hang in there, baby. You're okay. Yeah. And the funny thing is, the path, we all know the path. I mean, do the basic human movements, do a little this, eat vegetables, drink water, have some lean protein or even fatty protein. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that. Every single listener knows what I just said. They all know it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. But instead, you want to do a 3-day liver cleanse because maybe you have a fatty liver. And if you clean up your fatty liver, all your dreams will come true. Seriously, maybe you have a fatty liver, but but you haven't worked out. You haven't gotten out of the couch in 12 years. Mm-hmm. So that's intervention. But okay, so that's principle number 1 right there. Yeah.
That is, and then now let's stick on this idea of the goals, because there's a few other great points that you make on goal setting and and defining your goals. And the second thing you talk about is differentiating a health and a fitness goal.
Well, that's actually the second question.
Yes.
Is this a health goal or a fitness goal? And I define fitness the way you're supposed to define fitness. Now, hold on. Let me just add a thing. My good friend Steve Ilk, who I think is a genius, he reminds us that the word fit is an old Nordic word meaning to knit. Mm-hmm. And I love the concept of a tapestry. If you look close on a tapestry, you've got this tapestry on a wall, you'll see from far away, you'll see gold and you'll see the bright blues and the bright reds. But if you get really, really close, you'll notice that much of the fabric is brown and kind of ugly, the threads. Mm-hmm. And that, when you stand back in your life, usually it's the gold that leaps out from you. When you asked me today about my career, I just told you the gold. You know what I'm saying? I just told you the gold of my life. But a good training program, a good life program, means you're a knitted person. You have a tapestry. You're woven together. My children really like me. They like me a lot. Mm-hmm. My wife says she likes me. Well, who knows?
Hey, we'll take it.
I have a lot of friends. I have enormous community support. I am considered extremely important in my church, in my community, in the political party I support here in Utah, many communities. I think of myself as a well-knit person. Mm-hmm. When I show up at an event, I don't look like do I look like a bum off the streets, Pat? Do I?
No, of course not.
No. And if we go out to dinner, I don't want to talk about fitness. I want to talk about the books we're reading. I'm a wine snob. Mm-hmm. That to me is what fitness is, to be a well-knitted person. Mm-hmm. But I also have these wonderful goals. Like I want to break all the state weightlifting records again. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have this little goal, this task that I want to break the state weightlifting records. Now, that's what fitness is. Health is simply, and I take Maffetone's definition on this, the optimal interplay of the human organs. And you test that by blood tests. And I'm up to 2 to 3 blood tests a year. So I know, for example, on record, I show up at an event, I know I am healthy. Now, the guy over there, I could do a muscle up and I can do the Edna workout in 3 minutes. You know what though? Without your blood test, you can't tell me you're healthy or not. You might have low HDL and high triglycerides. You're a heart attack waiting to happen. So it's really important. So we know statistically certain things help you with health, and flossing your teeth, wear your damn seatbelts, wear a helmet when appropriate, learn to fall, that kind of thing. That's health. And sometimes people actually, now I don't know if it's like in your career, Pat, but because I'm 55, I do get people who have been told by their doctor, I need to train. So that would be a health goal. When your doctor says you need to get your fat butt in the gym, that's health. And so with those people, I tend to be like, all right, it's a lot of teaching. In fact, it's weird because if I can teach them to do a goblet squat and I have them do farmer walks, those two things alone make such a difference.
That's it, yeah.
They buy in. You don't need to make them sore. You just need to train them. But if you say to me, I want to be the state champion in fencing, that's a fitness goal. So I always try to make sure I break those two words out very early in our conversations.
I think if I may interject, that first off, the knitting is a beautiful analogy, and secondly, just to read it straight out of your book here, I say it, health is the optimal interplay of the organs, and fitness is the ability to do a task. And I think what's very important to know is that just because you're fit does not mean that you're healthy.
That's it exactly. And you can be fit. Like I have a friend in high school, I think I mentioned sometimes, who broke his neck, right? He got drunk, dived into a pool, broke his neck.
Oh, man.
He has 2 kids, but he can't walk. So he's fit to be a father, but he's not fit to do much else, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He is very injured. So, yeah, I think you have to constantly remind yourself of that. And I always make sure my athletes have an eye on fitness. I always make sure everyone I work with has, even if your goal is to be the state champion, I want you to be healthy enough to be able to brag to your great-grandchildren about it, okay? So don't throw away get the gold medal at the state championship and then, smash your head skateboarding on Tuesday because you weren't wearing a helmet. You kind of follow how that would work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's an incredibly important point to make that a lot of, fitness, if we're going to use that term, professionals, they miss. They miss it entirely. They focus too much on fitness and not enough on health.
Or before and they focus too much on before and after pictures. And by the way, I think for total candor, I think before and after pictures are marvelous. But let's make sure the after is still part of the beginning. I can't tell you how many female fitness models have told me, yeah, those are the pictures I put on my Facebook, but I was the biggest bitch in the world the day that picture was taken.
Oh, yeah. So six-pack abs are not a reflection of good health, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's genetic. I mean, God, I think I mentioned when I was at Utah State, I'm an Irish guy, so I get water weight at 7.9. I get out, and I look like I'm just, I'm big, but there's no definition at all in my body. None. African-American athlete gets in right after me. He's at 20% body fat, and he's got a six-pack, and he's ripped to the gills. It's like, God is so unfair when it comes to this thing,
Yep.
But, you have to store body fat, traditionally where you needed to store body fat. And the Irish tend to store body fat right around that belly, I tell you, man. It's,
Well, yeah.
I don't know what it would take for me to, not have jowls and a belly.
Yeah, I mean, it serves us Irish folk a useful function.
Go ahead.
So just moving on, but with the health and fitness goal, the next thing that you talk about that, again, I think, I'm just going point by point here because I think these are all important lessons to be learned, is will your goal allow you to enlarge your life? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I don't want to give away the whole book, but yeah, okay, sure, because I love this point. So you're going to decide to become Mr. America. I tell you who's good at this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, why was he going to become Mr. Universe? He would become Mr. Universe, then go to America, and then star in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Will this goal expand your life?
Mm-hmm.
My friend John Powell, he wanted to see the world but didn't want to join the Navy. Okay? So this spiraled his life out, become an elite discus thrower. But I think you need more than just that. I always tell people, I mean, when you decide you're going to work harder, you're going to get yourself down to you want a six-pack. Well, are you going to have more fun in your life? Play. What about rest time? I talk with women all the time who I want to get back to looking like I did before babies. And it's like, well, do you ever have any free time? And the joke I always make, if you ever want your kids to show up, instead of inviting your kids over for Thanksgiving, every mom in the world should just go into the bathroom, light some candles, put on a bubble bath. Because every one of their kids will show up and start knocking on the door. Ma, 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 ma. Because women never have alone time.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because very often the gym is their away time. And away is different than alone in some ways. So I talk about it in much better depth in the book, but it's the idea that if I decided to become which I did, I wanted to be, a Division I thrower. How will this expand my life? Well, one of the first things I thought, well, it'll pay for my education. So when I was at the Nationals my senior year, that same day I was at the Nationals throwing the discus, I was graduating back at Utah State. Now, I didn't make it, but I graduated that day. So I was at the Nationals, graduated from college the same day.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at goal setting. How is this going to expand? You need to sit down with a goal and think, how is this going to expand the other parts of my life?
Yeah.
Okay, and I hate to pat myself too hard in the back, but last night at my church, I gave a 2.5 hour talk on sacred scripture. Mm-hmm. Today I got up at 7:30 and trained a whole group of people for free because I offer free workouts to the community 2 to 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. Now I'm talking to you. I just got done grading my my college classes. This career that I have has expanded my life so much. I feel I give back more and more and more and more.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's great. That's incredible. That and it really, the thing I love about intervention is it's just so much more than just a fitness program. It really makes you sit down and think about things like, how will what I'm training for, enlarge my life? And if you haven't been thinking about it before, then it's time to start thinking about that. It's definitely changed. Since I got this book, I started talking to you. It's definitely had a profound impact on me.
That makes me proud. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, anyways, setting the goals. That's the foundation. It's the most important part. You asked a couple other questions there, but if anybody who's listening who hasn't gotten intervention, make sure you get that book.
Well, if you want to follow up on, and unless you have specific questions, I mean, I'm willing to go. Is it the next one? Is what quadrant are you in?
Yeah, so we have the quadrants. That's actually where I wanted to go next. Was talk a little bit about the quadrants and then the fundamental human movement. So now we're getting more into the physical realm. And
well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, just briefly explain the quadrants, what they are, and how to sort of identify which quadrant you are in.
Sure, glad to. One nice thing about this, breakingmuscle.com will have the quadrants explained in an article on Monday. And right. Then the book Easy Strength has it. But I do like interventions because I just got cut to the chase real fast. And you have that nice handout, I think, from DC, right?
Yes, I do. Yep.
So quadrant 1 is low levels of, isn't the highest level, very low levels of excellence, if you will, or whatever, but lots and lots and lots of qualities, okay? Mm-hmm. That's a high school PE class. In the high school PE class, you should learn how to power clean, military, front squat, bench press, learn how to use a kettlebell, learn how to do a pull-up, push-ups, sit-up, how to run laps, how to do an obstacle course, how to play every sport and game. Know the rules of every sport and game. But even when you guys win in that basketball league in PE, you're just not very good, okay? Quadrant 2 is the freaky place. That's when you're at the highest levels humans can really do. And there's a demand of lots and lots of qualities. This would be at the highest part of Quadrant 2. That would be the National Football League, elite rugby, and the special forces operators. The problem is the NFL and special forces operators have so much of a groovy factor that everybody thinks you should train like that. And the problem with that is those guys constantly have to manage compromises. I do a lot of work with both ends of this group. I do a lot of work. In fact, if you ever look at the gear that I have in my house that I can wear on the sidelines, or the gear that I can wear that I can't wear, you'd be shocked at the number of, I mean, I work with a lot of cool people. And one of the reasons that I resonate so well, like with the military, is when I mentioned managing compromises, I thought one of our commanders was going to fall out of his chair. He put his hands to, okay, I'm putting the hands to my temples, and he leaned back and he just started to nod his head. Oh my God, that's so true.
That's it, yep.
Managing compromises, constantly managing. Would it help a special operator to run a marathon? Yeah. Deadlift 700 pounds? Yeah. Can you do both? Well, I could do the marathon. I mean, I could. No way I could do 700 pounds. Would it help you, though? Oh, yeah. But you'd have to manage compromises. In the NFL, man, high school football, boy, you make decisions. As a head football coach, it's exhausting. You are making thousands of decisions a second. Okay, we can't run to the left because our starting left tackle just got hurt. Our backup, Willie's a very nice young man. He'd make a great son-in-law, but ain't no way we're running behind that kid. See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So the parents are up in the stands going, why aren't they doing old 9-7? And I'm sitting on the sidelines going, are you kidding? Our quarterback was crying 3 minutes ago. We can't, managing compromises. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Quadrant 3 is where almost 99% of us or more live. Quadrant 3 is you don't need a lot of qualities. If you're a fat loss client, it's diet and inefficient exercise. If you're a discus thrower, it's get strong, have good technique. It's yin and yang.
Yep.
Folks, you're listening, you are Quadrant 3. Quadrant 4 is like 1 or 2 qualities, but at levels that few humans could ever touch. It's a 1,000-pound deadlift. It's sprinting 9, 8, and 100 meters.
Yeah.
You don't ask that. It cracks me up when I read online about these guys who say, well, I don't know much, but I know I could make, Usain Bolt 10% stronger. Really? Shut up. You don't know jack. You got no idea what it is. On my best day, I can't talk to an elite Olympic lifter about training. It's a genetic gift at the rare genetic gifts with the best training we've ever formulated so far as humans. But for one task. So when someone sends me a book about how, or an article about how this elite Olympic lifter or deadlifter trains, I look at it, nod my head, try to find one gem, and then literally throw it out.
And toss it away, yeah.
No one I've worked with can use that. I've had state champions in the sprints from Utah, you know that? It's laughable when you look at their times nationally. Laughable.
Yeah.
God bless him, the kid. And I'll get a parent saying, oh, why isn't anyone interested in Charlie? He's the state champion. And it's like, in Utah.
In Utah.
So
I think what you're saying here is in Quadrant 4 that these rare athletes are going to succeed despite how they train, not because of it.
No. Those guys succeed because of genetic gifts, and they train smarter. Usain Bolt's trained smarter. He trains smarter than those great athletes. There's great athletes through America. I won't even. There's a guy I knew back in the day. I won't mention his name, but he was born. I think he ran a 9-1 100-yard dash in high school. Came out, was basically an elite, and then ended up with this terrible career 2 years later. He was a junior college athlete because his training was training was so bad.
Sure.
So you can undo a great athlete too. It happens all the time. In fact, I love watching it.
Yeah. So lesson there is, unless you're, watching this webinar, coming off of a professional football game than you are in quadrant 3.
Now, even then, when you hit 27 in the NFL,
Mhm.
then you slide down to quadrant 3.
Yeah.
Because all you need to worry about is staying strong and keeping your technique. My friends who play in the NFL, they always talk about how thick the playbook is. I got a buddy who got traded on Wednesday. The starter gets hurt on Thursday, and he's playing in an NFL game on Sunday. And I go, how did you do it? He goes, Dan, everything's the same in the NFL. Now, the terms might be slightly different, but everything's the same. And as long as you know your techniques and your strength is there, you can play. And I thought, as long as you know your techniques and you have your strength, you can play. It's funny, I go, you just defined quadrant 3.
There you go.
And it's like being a discus thrower. Now, so here's how it works. If you're under 18, you're quadrant 1. If you're over 18 and you're getting paid to do something, you're probably quadrant 2.
Uh-huh.
But once you hit 27, everybody's quadrant 3.
Everybody's quadrant 3.
And there's those freaks in remember, one quality, speed, absolute strength at the highest levels humans have ever performed. That's 4.
I just love the simplicity of it. So let's move into training in quadrant 3 now. And you've sort
Can I
of
just add one quick point?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Pat, the reason you need to know that as a coach is it helps you wash through what your client or your athlete is telling you.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this thing on YouTube. You nod your head. You accept that you heard what they said. What you're saying is you saw a guy doing sledgehammers on a tire. I hear you. I'm listening to you. That's very good. Should we add it to our program? Yes, we can. But remember, we got the Nationals on Saturday. So let's not add anything this week, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we use this as and then, of course, once your athletes understand that they're quadrant 3 too, they can literally watch other people or hear other people talk about their training, nod their heads and say, that's fine. It's like when guys used to ask me what I bench press at Highland Games. And I'd always tell them 225, but I got it for 3. It's a lie. Because I wanted them to think that they were stronger than I was and would beat me.
And you were still beating them, yeah.
Oh, doubling them.
That's great.
Doubling them up. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I use this tool in my career to, if you want to compete in the Highland Games, I'm one of the first people, I think, who thought that you should. My friends in the Highland Games would do a mini Highland Games for training.
Uh-huh.
Where I would take, on Monday I would do, say, the stone puts and the hammers. Tuesdays the weights for distance. Wednesdays the this. And it's like, oh my God, so you break it up? Yeah, because I think you need 60 throws in the shot put, not 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just throwing it out to you. Once you use these tools, there's a clarity that allows you to really expand your ability to train.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, simple but profound, and intervention is just as valuable for the coaches as it is for the consumer, if not more. So let's talk about quadrant 3 then, and then training in quadrant 3, something that you've really become known for, and that I followed to great success in that little article I wrote up for you, is simple strength or easy strength, which focuses on just practicing the fundamental human movements. Could you just give us a brief outline of what those fundamental human movements are and why they're so fundamental?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can break it down into larger categories than I have, and some people have, and I don't have a problem with that. But for me, it comes down to push, pull, hinge, squats, loaded carries, and then the 6th one, which is like either everything else, and everything else has a value. We'll get to that. But in order of changing most people, I have found the opposite order works. Loaded carries, squats, hinge, pull, push.
Push, yeah.
So if I can get you to just do farmer walks and deep goblet squats, most people come back in about 3 weeks and say, man, that was transformative.
Yeah. Because
there's been these gaps. So what's going to happen, listeners, is that I'm going to start swimming through an answer here, but just keep connecting. So I'll be leaping back and forth. So I am not disorganized. I know what I'm talking about. But the problem is, once you go down one road here, other things leap up, okay? So for most people, my first job, in fact, when you hire me, what I do is I go to your place, I go to your team, and I just tell you your gaps. That's the very first thing I do. I don't see you guys doing this. Now, you might answer me back, well, dude, we can't do that. Oh, okay. You can't do sled pulls? Oh, we can do sled pulls. We'll do sled pulls then. You can't do prowlers? Oh, we can do prowlers. Then do prowlers. We can't have athletes goblet squat with it. Why can't you? What? So my first job is to find your gaps in your program. Usually in a high school program, kids will do bench press, incline press, and half squat. And so right away you can see that this team is the gaps in here would be front squat, would be loaded carries, authentic squatting, hinge movements, and pull movements. So that's a lot of gaps.
Yes, it is.
And so for that program, what I need to do is get them to start putting those movements in the warm-up. Keep doing the bench press, the incline, the half squat is just too awful to look at, but keep it because the kids believe in it. But introduce everything else into, say, the warm-up or as corrective work in between. So you're starting to see how I apply things too. So the fundamental human movements, if need to be done, because now remember, I'm a strength coach, so I'm thinking about loaded stuff. I'm thinking about weightlifting, okay?
Yep.
That's where I come from. But at the same time, I might have you do a lot of stuff that isn't loaded because you just are loaded minimally because you just have that gap in your training. And I know this, if I can push your gaps up to I was going to say reasonable, that's not bad. If I can just push your gaps up to a reasonable level, for example, from not do to do, you're going to improve the whole athlete and the whole program because you're going to improve the system of that athlete. So, I mean, boy, there it is. That's intervention. I mean, it's funny with those basic questions. It comes down to this usually. You are quadrant 3. You need to do the basic human movements, and the ones you're not doing, we need to do corrective work on. And then once we get to that level, then we need to step back and go, okay, where are you in each of the movements? And that's when I get into, then it's, now this becomes a little bit more complicated, but we can use an example.
Sure.
For example, if you've never done an authentic squat, I would start with the basic patterning movement of goblet squat.
So this gets into the order of learning as you talk about in the book a little bit.
Yeah. So now we agree that there's a gap here. Now funny thing is, well, almost always, universally for squats, you have to do this. But if I have an injured athlete, for example, someone's been jacked up, their push might end up just being planks for a year or so. I mean, and of course I have some other new ideas like planks on one of those vibration plates or something like that. But seriously, if I might have a guy who's bench pressing his career 500 pounds, but now to stay in the league, he's doing planks, and that's okay because we're going to build up the other end of things, the squat. So the first thing we have to do is, do you have the pattern of this movement? And that's why for most people, most adults, the simple goblet squat is the game changer. Because once they learn that pattern, at the bottom you push your knees out with your elbows, it opens up the hips, they stand up tall under control. It is, not only is it good for you, it's life-changing in the fact that that's all squats are. Now, as we move up the load on goblet squats, you begin to get to the point that we have to load more. Now it's time to learn the grinds, and the grind for the goblet squats, everybody knows, the grind for squats, I personally jump next to double kettlebell front squats. That's our next jump. But from there, I'm looking at you learning the front squat, the overhead squat, and then later the back squat. I have this theory that if you can front squat, you can back squat.
Yeah.
But if you can back squat, some people come to me with great back squats, but they're so not back squats that I have to kind of almost relearn them.
Bring them back to the goblet squat, yeah.
Yeah. So now, once I get you there, then we play around with what I call the single side squat, and that's when you take a kettlebell and you put it in one hand and squat down. If your body twists away, I know that you're not ready to go fast here.
Yeah.
You are not in a position to add ballistics to that, and that's okay. In fact, to be honest with you, double kettlebell front squats, that's pretty good.
Oh, they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
I actually don't ever stray far away from those.
Yeah. And then like with front squats, I like to, with the barbell, I mean, I always tell my athletes, I'd like your bench press, your front squat, and your clean all to be around the same weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned that last time. That's one of my basic standards. So
Yeah.
when I have an elite kid, elite athlete working with them, that's one of my first questions. And what happens is you get this look like, holy cow. And then usually it'll be funny because you would think it's always the bench press is the winner on that.
Mm-hmm.
But with elite athletes, you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked with some superb athletes that live on speed, okay? And they'll tell me, Dan, I can clean, and it'll shock you. I mean, it'd be like, this 170-pound guy will say, I can clean 140 kilos. That's 308.
Yeah.
What? But they can't bench, I can only bench 170. It's like, and then seriously, as a strength coach, I'm sitting there going, my God, I have to increase someone's bench press? Because it's so rare. I mean, increasing a normal person's bench press is like, there's not a gym rat in the world that actually needs to increase his bench press. But with an elite athlete, sometimes you have to increase their bench press. I'll tell you a funny story. I had to get my bench press back as I moved up through my career. I just stopped. As a senior in high school, I benched so much, I never had to really worry about it. Oh, gosh, almost 8, 9, 10 years.
Wow.
But then I got to the point that my discus throw had stalled, and my friend John Price said, Dan, when's the last time you benched? And it was like,
9 years ago.
let's see, Nixon was president. No, Jerry Ford was president. I mean, it was that long. It was that kind of discussion. It was like,
Yeah.
So we went on the bench, and I think, and my numbers, my bench press number, let's say I benched 315 or 335 or something like that. And it was like John said, dude, you got to get your bench back. And it's like, so we went on this hyper simple program. I'll tell you real fast. 135 for 10, 225 for 10, 315 for 10, and then we'd go to 335 and do as many. And the other workout was 135, 225, 315, and then 365 for as many.
Wow.
And almost every season after that, I would get my bench back up to 405 within, 6 to 8 weeks, because it's easy. Once you have it, it's easy to get back.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And 405 was that magic number for me where it just matched everything else up. And all of a sudden, if my throws would pick up again.
Mm-hmm.
So in my career, you see those seasons where my throws would go, from pretty high level to all of a sudden out of nowhere, I'm a 160, 170 thrower. And it's like, what's wrong with me? And of course, my first thought is technical. But then I'd really know, in hindsight, I look back and it's like, I had no bench.
There was a gap. Yeah.
Thank you. God bless you, Pat. Did you hear what you just said?
Yeah. I'm talking intervention now.
You're talking intervention like there's a gap. Now, what's weird is that no one is ever going to have to, very few people listening are ever have to get someone's bench up. But there are freaks that have to get their bench up.
Yeah.
Almost universally for folks, it's going to be loaded carry and an authentic deep squat.
Yeah. Now you classify get up under carry, correct?
Get up is that 5+1, the sixth move.
That's under everything else then, the get up.
Everything else. Now, having said that, in the winter, sometimes our loaded carry is the Turkish get up.
Sure.
Because, if your facility isn't very big, you can do waiter walks and you can do circles with suitcase carries and farmer walks. But you get to the point where it's like, dude, I'm walking in circles here.
It's like a carousel, yeah.
Yeah, so the loaded carry, for some people, it can be the Turkish get-up.
Gotcha.
But that's why I like the Turkish get-up, because the Turkish get-up is one-arm move. It's lunging. It's a loaded carry. It's
rolling.
Yeah, it's rolling. Thank you. I think in the book somewhere I kind of delineate that out a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
you and Steve really do, and Steve should, I tip my hat to him too. He really made some awesome contributions to the book. Especially on the get up.
Isn't that fun? I kind of like that section. For the listeners, the chapter called, I think it's called Sixth Move. Am I right on that?
Yes, the sixth movement.
Yeah. I don't just write it myself. I have two friends comment, and I think it really enriches it because you get this idea. Listen, I like conversations. Like, for example, what we're doing now, Pat.
Yep.
The book Easy Strength, I think we went too far with it, Pavel and I. In fact, I think the book might have been, if we would have transcribed an actual conversation, more. It was a conversation, but it comes off as not perfect.
Yeah.
But it's good. But it's just. But what we tried to do then is like, okay, here's what I think, and then Tim steps up with his Beyond Bulletproof stuff, folks. Tim Anderson, go to Amazon or wherever you got to go. His 2 books, the Bulletproof books, are fantastic.
Yeah, you wrote. I believe you wrote the foreword for those too, as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I write a lot of forwards.
Yeah.
Mike just came out with his book this week, and I wrote it in there too.
Yeah, I
And
saw
Mike,
that. So let's give a hat tip to Mike. That's a great piece there too. I had the honor and pleasure of reviewing that before we released it. So
yeah. So I'm really, and then Steve comes in and he reminds us about throwing. And the funny thing is, I've spent my whole life throwing stuff, but I always forget it. It's like when you come train with me, you'll be throwing stuff, but I forget to put it in because it's like, yeah, of course we're going to throw medicine balls. We warm up. I mean, in the summer, our warm up here at the Cross Point Kettlebell Club is either frisbee, football, or soccer, or medicine ball. We kind of go out and we play catch until everybody shows up.
mm-hmm.
And when everybody shows up, I mean, Stoney keeps his heart rate monitor on. He's at 174 before we start training.
Mm-hmm.
For 8, 9, 10, 15 minutes. So for me, throwing is just, yeah, we're throwing. I never talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it's you know what I'm saying? It's like there's something you do in your gym that will be so informative when I see it. I'll be like, my God, this is genius.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be like, well, no, it's Tuesday. And,
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the forest and trees problem with us.
It's so funny because we see that down at Dragon Gym all the time, and it's something as simple as just training barefoot because it's a martial arts facility. We don't even think about it, but then we have people come in from other gyms or first timers to the gym, and they see this as such a profound thing, and it's funny. It's exactly what you're saying here. Is sometimes you just don't have the perspective of an outsider.
Right. Exactly. Very good. So yeah, that's actually. It's weird to say. I have a little crush on the book. I do. I have a little man crush on the book. So I don't want to say which chapters are my favorites, but I really like that one a lot because there's a couple sides to that. First, I'm honest enough to realize that I am just part of a tribe of people here who are all kind of discovering that we need to get people back on the ground and rolling and hitting the ground. I mean, just literally living on the ground a little bit, moving on the ground, getting up off the ground, getting back down on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice because, man, I tell you, you go to a gym, a commercial gym now, there's one that's got a big sign that you'll get kicked out if you deadlift. Imagine me doing my Turkish get-ups and my rolling and I call them b-boy push-ups.
Oh, yeah, you'd be exiled.
Yeah, it looks like I have some disease or something. To me, that's normal training. Normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a shame. It is a shame, but that's how it is. But yeah, I have the sixth movement up, that chapter up right now. I'm just sort of perusing through it, and it's under the list of these sort of hidden in a lot of other athletic movements under Steve's section. I think this is kind of you generate and resist rotational forces, run, jump, change direction, swing, anything, volley, kick. It's a great chapter. You have rolling in here, twisting in here. You have Anderson's crawling in here. I mean, it's incredibly comprehensive, and it's really neat to hear both Tim and Steve's perspectives on all these things as well. Just sort of adding and to the conversation that you're having.
And the funny thing is, when you want to talk about fat burning or whatever, is that we find because of the heart rate monitors, we use heart rate monitors in our training, is that the weird stuff that we do really is the thing. We're doing a set of 15 swings. Yeah, the heart ticks up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get on the ground and roll around, heart just flies up.
Through the roof, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're trying to do fat, the reason is because it's so inefficient.
Yep.
Getting up off the ground is inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
You can master exercises. We see it all the time in the dance side of the fitness community. it's called the chubby aerobic instructor syndrome. You know, you got this very nice person, quality human being, not ripping on them, but they've let themselves get fat, training 4 hours a day because they're so damn good at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The chubby triathlete, the chubby cyclist issue.
Yep.
You become so efficient, you're no longer getting a workout in.
Yeah. And I can attest to that. I mean, I've been swinging for a while now, and ever since I started, implementing these more primitive movements, the crawling, the rolling, and just getting up and off the ground, it's more difficult than the swings.
Yeah, yeah, I know. If you put on a heart rate monitor and you do something as simple as the program minimum, that swings 2 days a week, get-ups 2 days a week, you'll notice that the get-up workout for the heart rate monitor is the harder one.
Yeah, I'll test that. Is more difficult than the swings.
Harder as in terms higher heart rate. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. The level of perceived exhaustion. I mean, I put a lot of power into my swings, but it's true. You get so efficient at it. It just, it's the law of diminishing returns, if you will.
That's a very true law, by the way.
Yes.
Very true.
Yes, it is. Talking about the fundamental human movements, we talked about the order of learning. Are there any other principles or points that you want to add to this quadrant 3 training, things that people should be doing?
Well, sure. I mean, we've only really shared one of the big principles. I mean, fundamental human movements are fundamental. Mm-hmm. But one thing I'll just throw it out there is that, and I believe this, I think we've talked about this in the past, is I believe that you need to emphasize constantly the beauty of the movement. Mm-hmm. Call it mastery, call it grace, call it whatever, but you as a coach need to constantly strive to insist that the movement is lovely. Yes. Interesting thing, a friend of mine named Tim Carr, I love Tim Carr. He's a good friend of mine. He's a professor up at Westminster College here, and he was really instrumental in my career. Years ago, he found out that my brother Ray had never seen me throw the discus, and which tells you a lot about a lot of things, but he stopped for a moment and just went, "It's so beautiful when you throw." Mm-hmm. In all my career, people have always said that. You go to a track meet. I might not have always won, most of the time though, but I was a lovely discus thrower. Mm-hmm. It was artful. People would ask me things, and it was like, but one of the things people forgot is that I specifically tried to make my throw lovely. Not a lot of herks and jerks in there, because I felt that would take away from the distance. Mm-hmm. And interesting is, in my Olympic lifting career, I didn't do that. Same person, idiot monkey brain.
Sure.
And now what I've done is I've kind of decided to go back and recreate my Olympic lifting career with an emphasis on beautiful technique.
On loveliness, if you will.
On loveliness. Mm-hmm. And if it's an ugly rep, but I make a note that it was an ugly rep.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know that sounds insane, but what I'm noticing is all of a sudden, after doing that, emphasizing that, all of a sudden, well, first off, you don't get hurt, but also, too, people are starting to say, yeah, you're doing something better. Well, whatever better is better.
Yeah.
And so why do I say this? So it's okay for Edna to be over there with a 10-kilo goblet squat, working on her bottom position. We're not counting reps. We're not worried about load. She's discovering things in her body, and she's all of a sudden saying, oh, that's it. That's effortless. And you say, yeah, that's it. That's it. But here's the thing is, people come back. People come back to look at beauty. My God, how many times have I gone to the Museum of Fine Arts in the city, San Francisco? I see the same stuff on the walls because it's lovely. It's beautiful. I've got the movie Casablanca. I've watched it a lot of times. 4 Weddings and a Funeral. I like that movie. Mm-hmm. Why? Because there's something about it that keeps you engaged, coming back to it. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Mm-hmm. So I just think I want to make sure people hear that. Some of my principles are pretty bizarre.
No, I think it is incredibly important. Just the idea of beautiful movement, and I think a great example of that is the Turkish get-up. The Turkish get-up should look beautiful, and I think you say it in your book. The word calisthenics comes from the Greek word for beautiful strength, does it not?
Beautiful strength. Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then the other principle that I kind of, I'm glad it takes a long time for me to explain in the book. I go too long with it. I think in hindsight I should have just stuck with what I showed you last week at Mike's place. But you know, I can believe that you can do a tough diet, but you can't combine a tough diet with a tough training program.
Uh-huh.
So I argue in the book that you need to have periods of your training with reasonable training and reasonable eating. And then there are times you can tweak up one of those two, like put yourself on a diet in January. I get that. Go on a diet right before bikini season. I get that. Or there are times when you really jack up your training. I do that before an Olympic lifting meet. You know, I start to really, our track, the nationals for track, one of my athletes was talking about how she remembers me years ago getting ready for the nationals because I was over near her school. She was in middle school at the time, but she would watch me throw the implements but before the nationals, I would throw them in the exact order of the events and practice recovering between the events. If you put this in, it makes to go from the javelin, for example, to the 35-pound weight is emotionally hard to do. They're radically emotionally different events.
Yeah.
And so I would practice the gear change that I need to do. Having said that, most people focus on the quadrant I don't like, which is the really, really hard diet and the really, really hard workout.
Yeah, the tough workouts and the tough diets, as you call it.
I don't see how you can do it. And yet I think you can, maybe every 4 years. Frankly, I don't even think you can do that I don't think you can do it for 28 days. I don't. I think you can probably do it. Boy, if you could do that HCG diet that I keep hearing about, where it's 500 calories a day and you shoot yourself in the ass with some beef plasma or something.
Oh, man.
If you were to do that in the small squat cycle for 12 weeks, I'd love to see you do it.
Good luck, yeah.
You would literally fall if you could do it. If I had taken your child maybe, and I said I will kill your child on the internet, and and I will send the blood to you after, you might be able to do it. But I think it would have to be at that level of insanity to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think any other thing would be enough.
I agree. I completely agree.
I'm going to do this because I want to look pretty for my cousin Edna's wedding because she's such a bitch. You're not going to do that for 12 weeks.
No. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
Yeah, I can think of a couple times that I've tried, but not only that I've tried, but I realize that I've never had to either. I've had my kicks. I've slipped into idiocy just like most people have, and I've realized that there's just no need for me to do that.
Well, that is. But that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote the book so that we can all kind of sit down together. Hi, I'm Dan. Hi, Dan. I'm an idiot.
I'm an idiot. Yep. Here we go.
Tell us your story. Well, there was this one time where I thought I could do, and then I go on this long rambling, and we all nod our heads, and then we have a group hug at the end and drink way too much coffee and smoke cigarettes.
Yep.
We've all done the stupid stuff,
Yeah.
But I tell you, I'm going to go online seconds after talking to you, and I'm going to find some 14-year-old who's going to say, I want to build up as much mass as I can, but I want to keep my six-pack. Dude, you're 14. You're 14, I want to get back in shape. Help me out, Dan. How old are you? 49. When's the last time you trained seriously? I've never trained seriously, but I want to be like you guys in the Highland Games. You said you've never trained seriously? Give me 8 years. When you're 57, we're going to start training. We're going to treat you like a ninth grader, then a sophomore year. Give me 8 years. That's the advice I gave my brother Gary. Oh,
great advice.
He said to me, he started with his son David was throwing the discus for the high school, and he went out, started helping him, and by helping him, of course, he started throwing the discus, and he called me and said, I'm thinking about competing as a master, and I said, Gary, this is your first year. Remember, everyone remembers me from my 8th year of throwing at the earliest. But 8 years from now, you'll be pretty good. You know, it can't be, you know, the problem, especially with adults, is they think, okay, I'm going to do this for 6 weeks and I'm going to have all the results in the world. I've had people, adult males, show up at my discus camp, spend a week there, convinced that they're going to be a national level masters discus thrower after 1 week, and it's like, well, you know, we got you closer, but there's still a walk here, you know.
That's great. That's it's excellent advice. I mean, we could just keep going on and on, but I think that's that reasonable versus tough, and sticking in that quadrant of reasonable diet, tough, reasonable diet, reasonable training program. That's where most people should live. I think that's an excellent thought to end on. But before we say our goodbyes, I want to make sure that everyone gets a copy of your book, and I'll mention that we're having Dan out at our place at the Dragon Gym. First weekend in June, and for anybody who is listening to this webinar, we have a special offer, but you have to register at the site below, which is your name, and actually type in your actual name, such as pat.getstrong.com, and you'll see that offer that we have for you. And everybody who attends will get a copy of Dan's book, along with a host of other goodies, and Dan has been kind enough to offer to sign all of those books.
What?
Yeah, right. Yeah, didn't you make that? Didn't you make that?
What?
Right. So we'll have that for you, and for everyone else, I want to make sure that everyone picks up a copy of your book. Dan, where would Amazon or Dave Drake? Where would be the best place to grab a copy?
You know what? Well, if you go to Amazon, they only have the Kindle. But if you go to my site, danjohn.net, Larry has this cool offer where you can get all the stuff plus the audio. I read the whole book for the audio, so we have an audio book. We think it's the first time in our industry that the authors ever read their book.
Right.
And so I'm not very good at it, but I tried really hard, and I tried to make sense of things. And so go to my site, danjohn.net. And then the nice thing too, folks, Pat, do I whore my stuff out?
No, Dan is admittedly, what was it? You said the worst salesman of all time?
The single worst salesman of all time. But the nice thing is, if you go to danjohn.net, then you can click onto the blog, and then there's all these, I wouldn't say updates to the book, but like further down the road of the book, so to speak. And then what's nice is sometimes after, and then there's all those other resources on my blog. I mean, there's, if you guys decided to print off all the pages of my blog, it's over 2 reams of paper. That's all the free stuff there. Again, I'm not selling it. I'm in this for, listen, and Pat, you know this story, I think.
Yep.
Weightlifting changed my life. Because of weightlifting, I was able to get all my degrees, a couple masters, working on a doctorate, for a total of $10. I've traveled the world. I've become kind of oddly famous. I have my wife and kids. I have this wonderful career, all because strength coaches took me aside, showed me the tools, pointed me in the right direction. Lifting has changed my life. I must give back. I have a karmic debt to the weightlifting community that is so large, I don't think I can ever repay it, but I'm trying to. So I do my best I try to be as responsive as I can to emails. I give away tons of stuff for free. Pat will tell you I hang around at events just talking strength. I try to be as honest and candid as I can be. I know it sounds like I'm selling myself. I'm not. I'm just telling you, when someone realizes that they have a debt to give back and they don't, that's sinful, I think. So I'm trying my best to thank the Dick Notmeyers, the Ralph Mons, the Bob Lahattis, the Gary Johns, and all those people who took me under their wing. Dave Turner, boy, God, forget Dave Turner, who took me under their wing and allowed me this tremendous career, this life-changing career. All my dreams have come true, all of them. I mean, to be a writer. In the 7th grade, my teacher took me aside and said, Dan, you're a good writer. And I remember thinking, how will I have health insurance as a writer? And all my dreams have come true. I've traveled the world. I meet wonderful people. So So I have a debt, and I'm trying to pay it back by helping this next generation of strength coaches, fitness people, and just guys, just regular guys and girls who just want to not get hurt but look the best they can. Okay?
Absolutely, and I will attest to it one more time, and I think that's something else that definitely needs to be noted about Intervention is it is beautifully written. It is an enjoyable book to read above,
Thank you.
above anything else. You will be enlightened, but you will also be entertained.
Well, thank you.